Hello, everyone, and welcome today to another GP Optimizer webinar. Today, we're going to be talking about the future of GP, AI, and the cloud. And today, I have with me Chris Dobkins with Ingevity and Mark Rockwell with Rockton Software. We are, just from a logistical standpoint, we are recording this today. We will be sending this out to all who have registered for the session. And then you also will have access to questions, Q&A box with GoToWebinar. And you can feel free to enter questions. And at the end, we'll try to save some time to address some of those questions as well. And we might even have questions for the audience as well. So without further ado, let's go ahead and jump in. Are you two ready to start talking about the future of GP and AI in the cloud?
When is
You know,
Chris not ready to talk?
I
When?
can't wait until GP creates a robot and comes after us.
There you
It's
go.
gonna be really exciting.
Well, and it just makes me think of the Jetsons. So would it be like Rosie, like the GP Rosie version? Like would it look like that?
Right. I mean, GP
Yeah.
already knows how to manufacture things. We can have a
But
bill of materials. I mean, it could just
you know,
create a bill of materials to make a killer robot.
I think the most beautiful
Yeah.
thing is that every time you wake up in the morning, it will say, "Welcome to Dynamics."
Oh,
There
wouldn't
you
that
go.
be? That would be something. I bet I could
But
do
if
it
you
in Scarlett
attach,
Johansson's voice.
Yes.
you could probably with AI, you probably could program it to use any voice you want. And then if you plug in a 3D printer, then you probably could print a robot from GP. So
I mean,
there you go.
it's moving so fast. It's moving so fast, Jen.
It
I
is
know.
moving fast.
All right. Well, I'll get to the serious questions. Can you guys give us a quick overview of AI, or one of you?
Sure. Mark, you want to go first? You want me to
No,
go
I'm
first?
I'm gonna let you go first.
Well, I think the kind of AI that we're most like that's getting the most attention right now is generative AI. That's like Chat GPT. Um, it's like tools like Midjourney, Copilot. These are AI tools that are creating things like, right, they're generating content, so you might be able to use it to create a blog article or to write a business plan or to create a recipe for dinner tonight, or a shopping list for the things you might need to cook that dinner. And so that's been getting a lot of attention. But we've also got predictive AI, which is designed to predict trends in data, or to forecast things that might happen in the future. And we're working our way towards artificial general intelligence, which that's when it's going to get really interesting, when the AI starts programming itself and making itself better.
hmm
Um, but I mean, I think AI has become kind of a fun term to throw around recently. But I mean, it started a long time ago. I mean, for folks in our Dynamics GP channel, we've been talking about things like machine learning and the Internet of Things, like where you put sensors on your equipment in your factory, and your software is able to predict when that equipment needs maintenance. So I mean, we've been doing things like that in GP and in ERP for a really long time. Today, I think we would call that AI.
Yeah, we totally would. I think AI is such a buzzword, and it can be used both to frighten and intimidate. And if you're like a lot of people I've talked to, a lot of people are overwhelmed. But AI has been around for a very long time. Like you said, predicting and forecasting. We use AI to predict the weather, and we're pretty good at predicting the weather out about a week or so, and it's been around a long time. And things like Microsoft SQL Server have had searching indexes, or a ranking mechanism, so that you could compare two things. It uses an artificial intelligence algorithm to kind of figure things out. And that's been 2 or 3 decades now. So when you're doing like a bank reconciliation, you're trying to match this transaction to that, you look at, well, it's the date, but it's close to the date. Well, it's the amount, but it's close to the amount. And these two things happen to add up to that, and they're in the same date, so they could go together. Those types of things have been around a very, very long time. And so when we talk about AI, it seems like to a lot of people that it's brand new and that it's going to also take our jobs, and just, we're going to have a whole bunch of people unemployed all of a sudden. And I don't take that stance at all. And I'm really excited by what some of the things that are coming out and how it's being used. But it's not. I don't think AI is something to be afraid of. I think it's something to embrace, and let's get creative with how we can use it.
Yeah. Hey,
Yeah.
do you remember
Yeah.
when we had that little map app inside of Excel, and it could yeah, do efficient route planning for you? I mean,
Yeah.
it might still be there. I don't know. I haven't played around with it in a while, but it would. I mean, today again, we would call that AI, but it's been around
Mhm.
for a really long time.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
And I
And how
agree.
do you
I
guys
agree with
see?
Mark. By
Oh,
the way, I don't think it's going to be replacing our jobs. I mean, anytime soon. I think there are potential in certain sectors for job replacement, right? Like when we finally get to autonomous cars, and there may be job displacement in the truck drivers or taxi drivers. But in our accounting space, I think AI is going to be something that we work with, not that works for us or replaces us.
right. Well, George Jetson still had a job despite all
He took a
the
briefcase
He
every
did,
day. It had a car in
he
it, and
did.
he
He took a
went to
briefcase
work.
every day. So
and
yeah.
not an iPad. Interesting.
Nope, not an iPad. And so, how do you guys see AI impacting the ERP systems in the next several years?
It's a really good question. I just saw a demo the other day of an AI with an ERP. I won't name any specifics, but it was using natural language to create an order in the ERP. So you could say, create an order for this customer. They want to buy a sturdy desk and they want 4 blue chairs, and also repeat the order they made last time. And then the system would say, here's some items that you might want to select for that order. And I thought it was interesting, but then I started trying to think of any accountants that I know that would want to enter an order that way.
No.
Like, I mean, it took a long time for our community to start getting comfortable with the mouse, and now instead of just like banging in item numbers and quantities, we were like, why don't you just type out in long paragraphs what you want this order to be? But I also realized that in order to make something like that work, you really got to enrich your data set, right?
Yeah.
You've got to create elements in your item cards that define, this is a desk and it's sturdy. This chair is blue. Like, it's not going to just you know necessarily figure that out from the item descriptions right now. So it really requires um, a lot of additional work. It's not plug and play. You can't just plug it in and start working with it. Even if the accountants wanted to, type a journal entry in a natural language. But
I know.
so I think we're all failing. We're all suffering a little bit from a failure of imagination, and we're creating some things that we'll probably go through a series of creating things that people don't want before we
Mhm.
finally figure out, okay, what do people really want?
Well, and related to that, I think we've been very creative in the last couple of decades. There's been some amazing things coming out. But going back to your example of creating an order verbally, I don't know that somebody would do that. There was a great demo at a conference I saw where somebody had the Apple Watch and they were going to enter a journal entry on it. It's like,
Yeah.
it just, the absurdity is funny. I think I remember Matt Gustafson up on stage. This was about 13, 14 years ago when the Xbox came out, and the Xbox had the video camera and it could check
Oh
figure
yeah,
out your
yeah,
body
vision.
language. And he was explaining how out in the warehouse when you're packing boxes up, you could do this symbol of I'm closing the box, therefore the box should be sealed and it should go and ship. And I'm like, that's novel, but Boy, in the last 13 years since you introduced that idea, there's not a single warehouse that's doing that. Some of these ideas are ridiculous. And what I think this really, I
Yeah.
don't know that it's a failure of imagination. And I think that some cool things will come up. But the reality is that in the last 20 years or 25 years I've been in the ERP space, every year the problems are known and people keep throwing the latest technology at it. To solve it. And so things like bank rec matching has been done, things like bill of materials and making things. I know that there are with inventory forecasting and replenishment, those are already using AI. And it may get better and more fine tuned, but I don't think that there's going to be a dramatic, overwhelming revamping of any ERP system because of AI. That's my opinion. And I've been so wrong before, but that's just what I see.
I know. I
Never been
recently
wrong
saw
before.
I recently saw another one that was integrated into some supply chain software where it would the AI would take into account things like the weather and financials and geography and anything that might impact your supply chain, and then it would just predictively predict what might happen and then start sending emails to your suppliers and to change delivery dates and routes. And I think there's some things that are interesting there, but I don't know, Mark. You said we've gotten really good at predicting the weather. Um, I'm,
Well,
I don't know.
yes.
I mean, living in Colorado, I don't know how many times I've gone and bought milk and eggs because it was supposed to dump 2 feet of snow tomorrow and we got nothing. I don't know if I want an AI changing my order delivery dates based on a weather forecast.
Yeah,
Um,
totally. And I mean, to drive home your point, it's like you don't want this predictive AI to be going out there and telling your vendors to cancel an order because the weather's changing or something has come up. And I think that really
right.
boils down to trust. And AI is very not trustworthy at the moment. It's doing some phenomenal cool things, and but you have to check and verify. And it's funny,
Yeah.
I use Copilot in Visual Studio, and it says right at the bottom in bold constantly, results may be wrong. I mean, it's constantly right there in your face, which
Right.
is good because it often is. And so because you were dealing with ERP systems and you're dealing with type A personalities, accountants who are super anal retentive, and they need every penny to balance to the penny, I don't think the trust is very high right now with AI. And again, I think it's one of the other reasons
Yeah.
why we're not going to see a massive revamping of anything in an ERP system with
Right.
AI.
That's
Yeah.
totally true. And
It's
I
like,
mean, there's this term in AI called hallucinations, right? Like the generative AI
mm,
will just hallucinate, which is a nice way of saying it's lying to you. It doesn't know what's true and what's false. It's just collecting information that it finds on the internet or that's been loaded up into its large language model. And uh, so you ask it to write a term paper, it's probably plagiarizing it from a lot of different authors out there. So yeah, it's really important that you review anything that comes out of one of these generative AI tools. Because yeah, it could be giving you information from a science fiction novel. Um, it just doesn't necessarily know, but it is improving really fast. And
Hmm.
maybe there will be a time when AI really does help us predict the weather and we do trust it more. I mean, we've operated for so long under Moore's law,
Hmm.
which has been that kind of axiom that technology speed doubles every 24 months. And what we're seeing with AI is that AI is 10xing every year. So I mean, the rate and pace of change and improvement is just uh, it's mind-boggling, and it's moving faster than I think any of us are really prepared for. And I think it's going to impact us in non-ERP ways before it impacts us in ERP ways.
I agree.
yeah. It's like having a personal assistant that's an intern, right? So you're still teaching them a lot of things, and so it continues to improve
Yeah,
and it helps you out here and there, but yet not not fully. Yeah.
sure. I
So
mean, Jen, we might have some AI assistants listening to this conversation right now right? Somebody may have
Absolutely.
signed up. They're like, I'm too busy to come to this webinar. I'll just send
Hmm.
my Otter AI. And then after the call, they get a nice little summary of, all the
Hmm.
brilliant things that I said and all the ridiculous things that Mark said. And
And it put it in there too. It was just asterisk mark.
Yeah. Yeah. Here's the
Yeah.
top 4
Oh
things
yeah.
that we need to dispute that Mark said, right?
There you go. We're teaching the AI well. Do you believe that there's any AI functionality in GP today? Do either of you believe that?
Mark was just alluding to it. I think,
Yeah.
when I look at other ERP systems out there and look at some of the lists of things that they consider AI in their application, you see things like, um, being able to predict how much cash you're going to have in the bank on a future date.
Mm-hmm.
GP's had that cash flow calendar since I don't know, like version 7, where it'll predict how much cash you're going to have on a certain day. We've seen I've seen things talk about sales forecasting and inventory forecasting, or predicting customers that are going to be late paying. I mean, these are all things that our customers do in GP today, right? I mean, we've got our PO generator is a great example. I mean, it looks like open orders, it looks at inventory quantities, and it suggests things that you might want to order. MRP does a very similar thing from a manufacturing standpoint, and uh, you know it's really easy in GP. I mean, I don't know about you guys, but I already know which customers are going to pay me late. But we've had a really nice thing in GP for a long time, which is average days to pay.
Yeah.
And you look at your average days to pay on a list of invoices. I mean, you know which customers are probably going to pay you late. So uh, I mean, we've got a lot of things just natively in GP, and then when you expand out into our ISV community, I mean, Power GP Online, we have our Power GP banking tool, uses AI to auto match your transactions that are downloaded from the bank and to transactions that are in GP. We've got partners that will take a PDF that you receive an email and create an AP voucher from it, and we'll automatically send that voucher to approval based on rules that the machine has been taught. We've got partners that do inventory forecasting. So there's so much that's already in GP today that I think a lot of our competitors are referring to as AI.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And all of
Yeah.
those are examples where a problem has presented itself and somebody came up with a different solution. And that solution often takes some real human intelligence and then some built in some AI. And shameless plug for Rockton, but even our SmartFill product, which reads your mind, you just type in part of what you know and what you intuitively do, and then we go and do a complex search based on that. Those are examples of AI that have been throughout GP and the whole ERP systems for years and years and years. And I think they will get incrementally better. But to think that AI is going to revolutionize ERP, it's really kind of eye-opening to stop and think that, hey, it's already has. It's been doing that for decades now,
Yeah.
and so there's not really a rush to something super brand new. We've been living this iteratively over the years.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I'll
It's
just
just
double
more
down on that
mainstream.
shameless plug, Mark. SmartFill is one of my favorite products for GP. Um, if if we ever go through an
Take
upgrade
it.
at Ingevity and my SmartFill is not in there, like I don't even know how to look stuff up anymore. I've gotten so spoiled by how easy it is, and if you're listening to
Hmm.
this and you don't have SmartFill, you should get it like now, because it's not expensive, and it really it doesn't quite read your mind, but if you're looking for a green phone, you just type in green, and there it is. It's really easy. Um,
Yeah, and we're
I you
not
know I
paying
think
you
I
to
think
say
what's
that.
more interesting to me, and I know we're talking about AI today, and so I don't want to go down this rabbit hole, but like I
You
think there's
will.
some really interesting applications around augmented reality and
Hmm.
ERP. Like, just imagining your folks in the warehouse walking around with Apple's new Vision uh, device, where as they're looking around the warehouse, they can see in real time item numbers and descriptions of things that are in boxes and predictions about what needs to be reordered, direction on where to put products on shelves.
Or where is
Um,
an item that I'm looking for?
where
You
is
can
an
say, hey,
item?
Yeah.
Yeah,
yeah, directions say
you're
go down
trying
this next
to
aisle.
pick items to ship, and just real time on the screen in front of you, it's telling you where to go and what to get. I think there's some really interesting things we could do with that. Now, if I ever see an accountant with a vision goggles on doing journal entries, that'll surprise me, but who knows?
And to play devil's advocate, I think taking a multi-thousand-dollar headset and putting every person in the warehouse on one of those things is kind of ridiculous. One, warehouses are hot, sweaty, and dirty, and to wear a mask or something that limits your breathing or sweating all the time is obnoxious. And the use cases for something like that are great, but it's limited. And so bringing that into the reality of how we're going to interact with it from a hardware standpoint, uh, there's a lot of work to do there still.
Yeah, yeah. Well,
Yeah.
I don't really think it would be an Apple Vision. It would probably be some cheap knockoff uh,
Of course.
of an
Yeah,
Apple
That's
Vision.
interesting.
yeah. Or
Those
something
things are
like
expensive.
Yeah.
the Google's Glass, the iSet that they
X
had a few years
glasses.
ago, and
Hmm.
Yeah.
I'm sure I'm not sure why they abandoned that project, but they did. But that may come
Yeah.
back.
Well, and that's a
But
good
their
segue
their
in.
their
Oh.
their old Bard product probably told them to. Um,
With that, I will segue into the next question. And what do you believe that accountants and finance teams should be doing to prepare for AI?
You want to take this one first, Mark?
Yeah, I'll go first. Um, in order to prepare for AI, I think it's just using it in standard business cases. And here's a couple ways that that I use AI. I do some coding still, and so it's very helpful for coding. And yet I know it has limitations because if I have, say, 100 lines of code and I say I need help with the first 50 lines, and it helps me with that, and then I go to say help me with the second half, it forgets the first half that is already done, so it's not putting things together. But nonetheless, it does help with syntax. Like I want to write a loop to do this, it does it very eloquently. But and so that's really helpful. And then transcripting meetings like this meeting and having it transcribe and then summarize and send out a meeting summary is fantastic. I love that. And then I write some blogs. And what I found really useful is that when I am writing or when I have topics, I ramble and I'm incredibly incoherent. I have a bunch of different thoughts. And so I open Word and just use the dictation feature, and I just start talking randomly. And then I just take the whole thing of whenever I'm done rambling, paste it in ChatGPT and say, make a blog out of this. It makes me sound so much smarter. It organizes things in a coherent way, and it produces really good content that's still mine. That still has my voice to it, and I do have to go and tweak a few words and say things a little differently in my own voice. But I find those things really helpful. So I'd say that anybody who is in any role, especially in an office type, that there's some simple ways to use AI that can be very helpful and open up the ideas to how you can use this differently. And with that being said, if there is a chat, I'd like to things like this. If you guys are using it out there, I'd like to type in the chat, and Jen may read some other clever ideas of how
Yeah.
people are using it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think that the the best thing that any of us can be doing right now to get prepared for AI is to start using it. Um, you can use ChatGPT for free. You can pay 25, $30 a month and get a lot better experience in ChatGPT, and it'll do a lot more. And just start playing around with it and using it. Yeah, we had a fun little competition around our office where we uploaded our mission statement and all of our values into ChatGPT, and then asked it to create images for each of our values, um, which was interesting. Some of them were really good, and some of them were like, like what is that? That doesn't even look real. But I think just don't get behind. Like start using it. Take a class. Take a webinar where you're being taught how to write prompts. The more that you can expose yourself to these tools right now, the better. Because if you just don't want to get left behind. If you get left behind on this one, it's going to be a lot bigger deal than being a slow adopter to the internet was back in the 90s. Um, so start playing around with it and start finding ways to use it. I know we use it sometimes for referral letters, or some of our leaders will use it to create frameworks for their one-on-ones and annual reviews. So I mean there's some ways that you can use it just today, and summarizing a meeting is great. I think we had a call with a client, and recorded the call, hour-long call. At the end of the call, we take the transcript, upload it into ChatGPT, ask for a summary, and it gives us a nice little one-page summary of what we talked about on the call. And now we've got that for future reference. We can send it to the customer, and I mean it's a great experience.
I'm going to respectfully disagree with you on one point there, Chris, which is the left behind concept. And I think that's an
Mm-hmm.
actual panic that's happening right now, is that people feel like they're being left behind. I don't think that you need to jump on any bandwagon. I think you should be alert and seeing what's going on. But what's cool about AI is that it's developing so rapidly that if you're a late adopter like I am, it will catch up with you. It will train you. It's going to be smart enough to realize, oh, we're talking to my 84-year-old father who doesn't even know where the start button is, and why we've given him a computer
Mm-hmm.
at all, I don't really know. So I think it will adapt and bring people into the fold in a more human way that relates to where people. I think AI will be able to also predict or catch on people's ability to understand what's going on and kind of frame it or simplify it in some different ways. It reminds me, I think it was around 2009. That's when flip phones were moving to smartphones, and I had a flip phone, and I had to renew it, and I still wanted a flip phone. I did not want one of these screen-based things. And I walked in the Verizon store and I said, "Look, I just want a flip phone. I want to make a call. I want to receive a call. I do not want to take pictures of pocket lint. All the pictures on my phone are of my pocket itself. And I don't want this thing called texting. I don't want to be texting. I don't want to take any pictures whatsoever. I want to make a call and I want to receive a call." And the guy looks at me in the face and goes, "Sir, what you need is a landline." So I'm like, okay, fine. So I
Well,
finally succumbed to apps and smartphones and things, but I am a late adopter and I'm not on any bandwagon, and yet I use it where it makes sense for me.
we have a word for that. It's called troglodyte. Um, but,
Uh,
you might be right in certain cases, but there is there's just like a learning how to use ChatGPT to summarize a meeting.
Mhm.
But there's also a lot of other things you can do with these tools. Like I have uploaded into one of my chats all of a whole bunch of blogs that I've written, and changed the persona of the AI assistant, so that
mhm.
and we've uploaded a lot of information about longevity. So the when we can ask it questions, and it knows things specifically about us, and it can respond in my voice. So we could have someone on our marketing team actually creating a blog from a bullet point list that I've put together that is in my voice as if I've written it. You can create custom GPTs that have really been trained to understand your products and your company, and can act as first responders in support scenarios, whether with your human support team or in chatbot type scenarios. And it's those kind of things that especially if you're in marketing, I think there is some danger in being left behind in terms of just knowing how to do these things, and being able to write efficient prompts, so you're getting the kind of information that you want, rather than just what the system would naturally output.
Yeah, it's learning how to do the prompt in a way to get better information. So you're going to get the information based off of the prompt that you put in, right? And as you continue to use it, you'll learn better techniques
Yeah.
to create those prompts.
Well,
Absolutely.
it's kind of like
And,
asking Google a question, right?
yeah.
I am so bad at Google, because I don't know how to ask it questions.
Mhm.
My wife is excellent at Google, so we just have a little running joke at home that, if we need to find something, I start off with, "Dear Google, can you please help me find?" And, and Melissa's like, 3 keywords, and boom, there's the results. And I think these generative AIs are a lot like that. The more that you
Mhm.
use them and you learn how to talk to them, um, I think it's going to be important, because these tools may not be replacing jobs, but employers are going to be looking for people who know how to use these tools. And so it will be important in the job market that you have experience in using these AI tools.
but
And it makes you
just
more efficient. It makes you more
Totally.
efficient.
Yeah.
what I think's amusing about that, because it is newer, is that you're going to see job postings all around very soon that say wanted 5 years of AI experience.
Yeah.
you know,
Right.
and there's going to be people providing their resumes, and you're like, how's that possible, right?
Well, yeah. Well, if
Yeah.
anybody's been on
Indeed.
GP for a few
Indeed.
years, there you go.
Right.
Yeah. So you guys already listed some of the benefits of using AI. What are some of your top or the biggest benefits that you see, just maybe in summary, that we haven't touched yet?
I'll just go back to reiterate one of the things, just in programming. I'm historically a dexterity programmer. I know how to do C sharp. I started out on BASIC when I was in grade school. Programming concepts don't change from language to language, but the language is changing, and I'm working on some Angular lately. Angular is just so bizarrely different in how it approaches things. I know exactly what I want to do. I know how to produce the code that I want. I just don't know the syntax. And so being able to explain, hey, I want to write a loop that goes through and does this to records, and have it spit out accurately. And then of course I can take that and paste it in, and watch it work. I just find that phenomenally helpful. Likewise, it's that translation capability. So the ability to have conversations on a telephone, or with somebody who does not speak the same language that I do, is really,
Mm.
really helpful.
Yeah, I mean, I know that I was listening to somebody the other day talking about some of the AI components that are built into some of the Google phones, where it'll actually do live language translations in real time as you're having a conversation with someone who speaks a different language. Um, there's some really interesting things that are coming. Personally, I like to use it to help create. I think for me, I'm a much better editor than I am a creator. So, if we're writing content for the website, or writing an email, um, uh, somebody asks us for a reference letter, rather than starting with a blank page, I'll ask Chat GPT to you know to write it, and then I'll edit it and really make it my own. And it's so much faster. It saves me so much time. Um, I've also really enjoyed using it, and this is just silly, but creating images for PowerPoint decks. Um, and because I'm not an artistic person. I don't know how to use tools like Photoshop, and if I did, I wouldn't create anything that people wanted to look at. But I do create a lot of slide decks, and being able to go into ChatGPT and use its Wally functionality to I can describe an image that I want, and and it'll create that image. And the better I describe it, the better image I get. And it's really helped me create some presentations that I think are better because I've got better image. I'm not just pulling clip art off of
Totally.
off of office.com.
Yeah, I remember going to a trade show 20 years ago. I had taken some clip art and put it in as a background of some people at a computer, and there, of course, across the way was the same backdrop on somebody else's trade show booth.
Yeah.
It's the clip art. I love that ability for creating original works of art that are not. It also saves on copyright. And I think we were playing a week or two ago. My son Blake showed me this audio file. I forget what it's called. It was Udio or something like that, where you can say, yeah, create me a song like "Shut Up and Dance with Me" that sounds like it was written in the 1980s, and it spins for like 30 seconds, and it creates a full 2 or 3 minute song that's very catchy, that sounds just like Cyndi Lauper had created it or whatever, including lyrics and a really worthwhile beat that sounds like, wow, that's really created. What's amazing about that, not only its ability, is that you can now create content in your PowerPoint slides without having to worry about violating copyright laws. But then again, it
I'm
also
kind of
makes me wonder, like,
I'm kind of surprised you're not doing Weird Al style
oh,
songs.
we got the great parody songs, right? I know, but
Yeah.
I
We should see who.
I've really enjoyed using Midjourney. I mean,
Okay.
Wally inside of ChatGPT is pretty good, but Midjourney for creating like art. I have a friend that used it to create the artwork for the cover of his book, and it's absolutely beautiful. I mean, it looks like it was created by a human artist, and uh, I used it to create an image for our courage value, and I put in information about our courage value, and then asked it to create the image in the style of a Led Zeppelin album cover, and the image that it came back with was so cool. uh, and uh, and yes, and it's beautiful. Some of the things that you can create, you know, visually, and as you're talking about creating songs, and um, yeah, it's fun. It's right now I'm having fun playing with it and accidentally finding ways to help it do my job.
I agree. And what's interesting about that is that if we can create art and we can create music, if you're in the art, if you're an artist or you're a musician, you might be panicking, like, my whole career or everything that I contribute to the world is suddenly gone. And I completely disagree with that. I think that it will actually make it more powerful for those who are talented musicians to take the best parts of them and have AI assist it to create even better works of art and and just be more musically sound. So I'm not intimidated or frightened by this replacement concept.
Hmm.
I just don't see it happening, and yet I hear a lot of people very, very frightened about things like that. I think that
Yeah,
we can
I
be
mean, but I
more
mean
open
that's
to.
we heard the same kind of panic coming from the music industry when iTunes came out, Napster, and
Right. Yeah,
put
Napster, right.
changing a business model. And I think I share your view. I think that AI is a tool, and we're if you are naturally inclined as an artist, there's some amazing things you can do with these tools. But the tools also broaden the scope of who can be an artist.
Hmm.
And for somebody like me who has no natural artistic talent, but might have ideas in my head
Hmm.
about something that I think would look beautiful. I now have the ability to create that, whereas yesterday, um, I had no capability to do it because
Hmm.
I don't have talent.
Yeah,
Artistically,
I
Mark,
love
artistically.
it. Good thing you clarified that, Chris. He was coming
Well,
in. No.
my wife might be listening, and I have to make sure I provide context. Otherwise, I'll hear the recording of myself back later. I have no talent.
I'm I'm going to take that sample bit and put it in a create a Weird Al song for you.
There you go.
The I have no
You
talent
could take
song.
Use me
Alice's and
as a
create a,
sample. You just put it as a sample, and then I have no talent. I have no talent.
and then you could create like some type of image of Chris as a musician, and then put it together as a video. You could create it all, right?
Yeah,
The cover, the
yeah.
album cover.
And we'll also make it
It's
relate to
it's crazy.
GPs as an ERP system.
What was
I was
that?
at an event. I'm sorry. Yeah, go ahead, Mark.
I was just saying, and we will make it relate to GP as an ERP system. Just add some lyrics
Mhm.
there and tie it all together.
Yeah, yeah. I was at an event not too long ago, and a video started playing of a person like doing a vlog. And as we were watching it, the image kind of disintegrated from this kind of like cool Australian surfer dude, uh, you know, talking with his Australian accent into like this 17-year-old girl from the Philippines, and then she explained how she used some of these AI tools to create a new image for herself, to create a new vocal sound for herself, and that so she could take a video of herself doing this vlog, and it took a lot of work, but she was able to take that video and turn it into something that looked completely different. And I think these tools are going to get better and better and better at making that stuff easier and easier. And I think one of the skills that's probably maybe one of the most important skills that we can start developing as humans is the ability to tell the difference between what's real and what's not real.
Mm.
Because it's just getting easier and easier to make things that aren't real. And
I
you could just imagine how that technology could be used for bad purposes.
Yeah, it is, and that's the deep fakes war happening politically as well. I think the New York Times had a little AI study. They had 10 different pictures. I took this little quiz, like spot which ones were generated by AI and which are real pictures. I missed 6 out of 10. It was really
Wow.
hard. Yeah,
Oh,
and I think you're
Yeah.
yeah,
dead on. Is that being able to tell reality from what's been manufactured is going to be very important and challenging to do.
Yeah.
yeah, and I
I
think
will
so.
say
At the
though,
heart of that,
if you use the AIs to create pictures, you really do have to get good at your prompts, because sometimes it'll create people with 7 fingers. Or I saw an image yesterday of this lady sitting at a desk, but her legs were pointing the opposite direction. So you do really want to look carefully at the image
yeah,
before you just use it.
using it.
Um, yeah, the people who are good at this are able to create stuff that looks really real. But as I've been learning, I've created a lot of things where I'm like, people don't look like that.
Yeah. So I think though too, at the heart of some of what you guys are getting at is that it's really going to enhance or should push people to be more to improve their critical thinking, right? So it's not when we go to, and my next question is about fear, like what should we be fearing, if anything, around AI? I think that going back to that original fear we talked about, where it's going to take your job, but it's not. But can't we look at it like any other advancement of how does it also advance me as a human? How does it improve my critical thinking? How does it make me more efficient? How does it make me work smarter, not harder? All of those things too. But with that,
Yeah.
you guys, well, sorry, Mark, did you have a comment?
Well, I have some things to say about that. The critical thinking does worry me on one hand. My uncle is a retired high school math teacher, and when
Mm,
calculators came into the classroom, he was really concerned because they were dumbing down things, and yet addition sometimes is challenging for people. But it was really frustrating when you say, okay, add 14 and 32, and then the kid would take out the calculator. The answer is 5,684,382. And it's like, this concept of even being close, and the kid was adamant. It's like, it's right here on the calculator, it has to be right. is that we're giving up that sense of power. And I think that teaching critical thinking skills and being in the realm of reality or even close to what we're talking about is going to be really, really important. I also think that AI has the ability, and I see this happen a lot of times, is the ability to deliver words differently than you intend them to be, such as I
Mm.
want to tell Chris what I want to tell him to jump off a bridge, and because he just really made me angry because of something that he said. I can just, type into a device and say, could you rephrase this? And and it can come
Take a
across
long
as,
walk off a short pier.
yeah, exactly. And it can say, using nonviolent communication and how to rephrase things in a way that can get your point across in a more human and connecting way. Because as AI is developing, we are so desperate for human connection. And it is important to connect as humans. And so to learn to communicate more effectively is something that AI can train us all to do. And I've seen that happen. It's great with, I wrote a letter to my doctor. I was complaining about something about his practice. And what he wrote back to me was like, I'm sorry this happened. I'm going to make this better in this way. And I swear to God, it had to be written by AI because it was perfect. It made me feel good. It made me feel heard, made me feel listened to, and then it fixed the problem. And
It
that's
had
what people
empathy.
want to. Yeah, it is empathy. And empathy is yeah, that's something that you need to learn. No, yeah, you need to improve empathy skills and the ability to communicate. And I think that AI can help us do that and connect better as
Yeah.
humans.
Well, I think to your point about the calculator, I mean, we've already seen with our mobile devices in some of these younger generations, um, a decrease in some of that natural curiosity,
Yeah,
a decrease in uh, a desire to learn things. Because why do I need to learn something when anything I might ever need to know, I can find the answer to in a moment on my phone? And so I think there's been we're already seeing societal change because of this constant connectivity, and gosh, social media has had a huge impact, especially on our young girls, and their self-esteem. And um, now with AI coming into the picture, to me it's all about how we use it. I recently got to hear a speaker from who used to work at Google talking about this, and he just kept saying over and over again, "I am not afraid of AI. I am not afraid of AI. I'm afraid of how people might use AI, but I'm not afraid of AI itself." And I think that's the picture that the science fiction movies paint for us of Terminators and nefarious artificial intelligences. Um, I think it's not the robots that are coming for us, right? It's other humans, and I think that's why being able to tell the difference between what's real and what's not real is so important.
Mm-hmm.
Because there are going to be people out there that are. I mean, could you imagine someone, taking my voice in my picture off of this recording? They could put it into an AI and create something that would very convincingly uh, uh,
Yep.
can tell my accountant to wire money to an account that would look like me,
Mm-hmm.
like in video format and sound like me. Phone calls that sound like your child that needs some help and some money. Please send me some money to this location. We already see attempts at defrauding people, that they've gotten better and better over the years. But the more critical thinking that goes into it, you can tell a lot of times, oh, this the syntax isn't quite right, or this doesn't sound like something that my wife would say. But with AI, it's just going to get harder and harder. And so I'm not afraid of AI, but I am concerned about how people are going to use it. And one of the things the speaker left us with was, if you are afraid of AI, if you're afraid of the robots, the best thing that you can do is just start being nicer on social media, because the AI is going to be reading our social media posts. So if you're afraid, just be kind. And maybe our fear of AI could drive us towards just being nicer humans
Hmm.
to other humans in online forums. Wouldn't that be a wonderful thing?
Would be.
Yep. We'll all need to use a lot of discernment. Mm-hmm.
Yes,
Yeah.
discernment.
Yeah.
I
Mm-hmm.
know you have to start
Yeah.
setting up code words, right? Like if
Yeah.
I call you and I tell you to do something, only do it if I use the word Gemini. Oh, I gave my code word away. I'm gonna have to
Yeah.
change it now.
Now you got to come up with a new one. Well, we are getting close to wrap up as far as questions go. Either of you have any last minute thoughts around AI and GP when it comes to just maybe GP or ERP systems, or maybe a question for the audience? Right now, we don't have any questions from the audience.
I just think in summary that
Well,
we've
I
been
mean that's
using AI
because Mark
forever.
and I are just so good at explaining this.
Yeah.
Apparently, yeah.
There you go.
I would just
You're
say,
so good at.
our our stance at Ingevity is, I mean, we're really focused on trying to make GP better, and specifically cloud experiences that make GP better, and we're constantly looking at these technologies and trying to create solutions for real world problems, and we've already created some that use intelligence to make people's jobs easier, and we're just going to continue to do that. So if you're running on GP and you're wondering about, gosh, what's the future for me in this application? I would say, first off, I'm super bullish about GP. We run GP at Ingevity, and we have no plans to uh, stop using GP. We absolutely love it. I think people are going to be using GP well into the late 2030s and early 2040s. I just, and companies like Ingevity and Rockton Software are just going to continue to develop applications that make GP better. And Microsoft might be slowing down their development, but that just creates opportunity for companies like ours to step into the gap and create things that our customers are really asking for.
Wow. I can't top that, Chris. I'm just going to leave it at that. Well said. Well said.
There you go. Wow. And then let's see, there might be a question. Let me look here. All right. Okay. So we are being asked if you guys think that AI can fill any current holes in Dynamics GP.
Is this question being asked by a real person or is it being asked by an
Yes,
AI?
being asked by ChatGPT. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I mean, I've one of the interesting things that I've seen recently, and this applies specifically to online sellers that use GP, but using generative AI tools to help improve your product descriptions, and create product descriptions that are more compelling or that are hyper personalized towards specific markets. I think some really interesting things that you could do there. Um, if budget is not a concern for you, what Microsoft is doing with Copilot and Power BI is pretty amazing. I saw a demonstration of this earlier this week where someone just kind of went into the Power BI desktop and asked the Copilot to create some sales reports to help them identify trends impacting their sales. And it created a whole series of interconnected charts and graphs. And then they said, well, now what am I not asking for? What kind of trends can you see in my data that I haven't thought to ask about yet? And it created some really interesting results. Now, right now, this is still in the $5,000 a month range, so I wouldn't necessarily consider it mid-market, but there's some really interesting things like that I think could really help, especially executives, understand all this data that resides in our GP systems.
Yeah, and I think the short answer is yes, that AI can help with any hole that's filled in GP. What is fascinating to me about GP is that GP doesn't have many more holes to fill. It is a very robust sound product. We're going on 30 years of development, an ecosystem of 500 to 700 ISVs that are filling every gap and hole. And we've been using AI along the way for the last couple of decades to improve what's needed. I'll tell a story. We have a GP toolbox, another one of our products, and I think it's been 12 or 13 years ago, we were looking as an ISV to say, what are the holes in GP? What would you like? We'd like to make another product and bring it to market. And we had a contest and people sent things in, and everything that we got sent in was a very small thing. And so, but there wasn't like a big piece of a gaping hole of something that GP was missing. And so we created like another dozen tools. We packaged them together and put them together as a toolbox. And so what that really taught me was that this is a really robust system, and it is very mature. It fills most every gap and every hole. And yes, can certain problems be better solved by faster AI as it's evolving? Absolutely. But there isn't really a huge hole to plug in GP, and that's one of the reasons why I think anybody on GP should stay on GP. There's no reason to throw this away. And if you need to go in the cloud, head over to Ingevity. If that's the reason to move to something else, it has all the things that you need.
Yeah. And I mean, we've with our Power GP banking product, we've applied AI to match transactions. But yeah, I think something that could be really interesting, Mark, to explore is using AI to help balance our sub ledgers to our general ledger. We have a tool for that in GP. But it's a lot, and yeah, I think that could be an interesting place to look at plugging in GP, not necessarily to fill a gap, but to make something that's already there better, faster, more clear, and help companies that run into issues with that.
I'm not sure, but I think there's 2 ISV products that already do that. So,
Yeah, you're probably right.
I can think of one. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, it's worth asking. So you can type into an AI, hey, is there an ISV out there that does this?
There you go.
I'm gonna do that
Fun
for
way to fill the holes.
ChatGPT right now.
There you go. There you go. All right. Well, if there's nothing else, then we can go ahead and wrap for the day. Thank you again, both of you, for the engaging conversation. I think this was really fun, and it's also helpful, I'm sure, to the rest of us on here, just to kind of learn more and broaden our horizons around AI. And then for those of you that attended today, thank you for spending your time with us today. Like I said at the beginning, we will be sending this video out, and then watch for more webinars like this to come in the future. So thank you very much. Take care.
Thanks, Jen.
Thanks, Jen. Thanks, everybody.
Yeah.
Bye.